Oh, well, it's a random fact that I know in my mind, but if you want to jump out a window, like we were just talking about earlier, to die, you should be at least 6 stories up to make it a fatal injury.
Is it?
Yeah.
Why do you know that? And we're back. Well, I'm Ash Mannix, and I'm joined today by my beautiful co-host, Kuxel.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am the beautiful co-host.
Not a beautiful co-host, the beautiful co-host.
Indeed.
And today, something a little bit different from what I've done previously. Well, not that much different. I decided to play, I decided to give this visual novel Narcissu a go. The background behind this is I did some random research, as I do, going online on the Googles and like rummaging through the detritus that is the Steam store, and trying to find like a diamond in the rough. It's a nice little Aladdin reference there for any of you that recognize that. Jasmine, best girl. But like, so yeah, I came across Narcissu, and there's a free version of it, but I decided to go for the 10th anniversary edition.
You want the full fat?
Full fat, updated to 2017. Beautiful. £2. 2 Great British pounds. So not bad. There's like downloadable content for this, extra episodes and the soundtrack, and you can get them together as a bundle. I think there's like about 3 extra stories and the soundtrack for about £22, £23, which is quite a bit of money. I think that's how they hook you in. And it was a toss between playing this game Narcissu and playing another visual novel called Island, all capital letters. And I decided to go with this one because it seemed like it was a bit shorter and cost less. I do plan to play Island with Kuxel in the future at some point. Being a longer game though, we've already got the silver case on there. We're playing the silver case just now, which we are finding. Well, I was enjoying it until the last couple of episodes where it got a little bit annoying.
Tiresome.
Yes, a little bit tiresome. Though I'm enjoying the story in general, and I love. I always forget his name. Sabio, not Sabio.
Sumio, my
Fumio.
boy.
No, he's your boy. Who's my guy?
Your
uh,
guy, Kusabi.
Kusabi. Aye. Ah.
Oh my god. He's still the best.
What the fuck are you talking about? Gonna call you Big Dick. If you enjoy our bad voice acting, definitely give the Silver Case playlist a go.
If you enjoy any sort of visual novel, I will say also just give the Silver Case a go because it's very, very interesting.
Yeah,
at the very least.
Unfortunately, it doesn't have like it's not got cute anime girls.
I don't know what you're talking about. We got Hachisuka in there, man. She's good looking.
Yeah, I mean cute anime girls, not attractive anime women. But yeah. Shall we?
So let's get started on this then, shall we then?
Yeah, let's get started.
Now I see we've got Narcissu the first and Narcissu the second.
Yes.
So is this actually 2 games in one?
It's 2 stories.
Ah.
One being I think the main story, and I think the other one is a prequel or a story beforehand or something. But yeah, let's get into this. I've just realized that my food just came in through the door as well.
You're gonna go get it.
Yeah, I really should. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the recording just there and nab my food because I am a greedy git. Right, back in a second, guys. And we're back. Apologies, had to get myself my lovely burger and chips. And this is maybe an eating ASMR video, so I apologize for my munchies.
Man, I might get some food at some point as well.
But shall we get into it?
What was that doorbell?
Oh, you heard my doorbell.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to cut that. I don't know if I can be arsed to do that. Ah, yes, we have a Nest doorbell. No, so like it plays through speakers. We've got some like Google speakers or something it plays through.
Uh-huh.
So it's whatever generic doorbell sound that produces. But yeah, that's what you heard.
Okay, fair enough.
Let's get into it. Look, we've got two. I don't know what's going on with the eyes here. The art style is interesting. This is more normal. This art style is like this eyes feels like something from an old Disney cartoon.
Huh? I don't
That-
know why you'd say Disney cartoon. This reminds me of old manga specifically.
So definitely the whole picture. I'm just thinking the eyes are weird.
Well, what I find interesting is that on the left, you've got a much more refined piece of artwork than on the right. And I liken it to, well, illustration versus sketch.
Yeah, I see that.
It also puts me in mind of CG artwork that you would see for visual novels versus what you might find on the cover of an older manga.
CG here, older manga
Yeah,
here.
yes, exactly.
So maybe that. I mean, maybe that is what that is then. Maybe this is the original. This is 10 years later.
It'd be interesting to see.
I don't know anything about this game. Besides, it had some good reviews. Seems to be talked about well. And I need to remember to switch the scene in OBS so that we have our faces are hidden when we start this. I don't even know.
I keep forgetting to do that, right? So it just ends up with being with having the avatars there for a couple of minutes, and I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot, and then I take it off.
Yeah, it's easier for editing as well if our faces aren't there, because if you edit stuff, sometimes you might do stuff in the audio. If the audio's off, then our avatars don't look right. But
yeah.
Right, shall we jump into it then?
Absolutely.
Right, I'm going to switch scenes. Our faces are now hidden, and let's go. Ding.
眩しかった日のこと。そんな冬の日のこと。
Oh,
God, do you hear the buzzing on the audio?
確か
Oh, that's well
に
loud.
丈夫な方じゃなかった。
I need to change the settings. Wait, can
That's
I?
well loud.
One second. No, I guess I can't see that. No. Oh well. I mean, I don't need to read this, do I?
I've loaded the stream audio to me. I
Have
can still hear you clearly, at least.
Oh my days. Oh, that's handy. I didn't think it'd be
Okay,
that
check
easy.
the sound settings.
What sound effects are fucking well too high. Music.
Oh, has it opened
It's like
something else?
it doesn't change much, and then
Oh, and then it just goes all the way.
I'm gonna just bring these right down. Yeah, do that. Harvey. And do you think I should read it out or just let the Japanese do its thing? I've lost you. Are you there, Kuxel?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah. What happened there?
I'd accidentally hit the mute button.
So what do you think? Should I just read this out or just let the Japanese do its thing?
I was just about to say that the what I do is if there's any dialogue, I just let the game read that dialogue out. But if there isn't, if we're doing a visual novel and if it's like it's unvoiced, then
Yeah.
I would voice that part.
So I've been doing that in the past as well. That's kind of my thing. I was just thinking that the that audio was just like so jarring.
Yeah.
It wasn't really the voice; it was the sound effects. But we'll let the Japanese voice actress to do their thing. What happened to the audio?
It's gone.
What the? Okay, but even so, I went to grade school normally. During summer vacation, I played until I was tanned, very dark. June. Soon after entering middle school, The day after we ordered swimsuits for the swimming class that would start next month. That time was the first time I experienced being admitted into a hospital. Just a little before the first semester midterms, a day where the rain that started to fall fell awfully cold. In the midst of that pure white sky of the rainy season, in the beginning, everyone in the class came to visit me each day. When I was discharged from the hospital during the weekends, they would come to my house to play. But that was just in the beginning.
I'm not.
You're not liking where this is going?
I feel like I know where this is going.
Fall came, winter left, hospitalised, discharged, outpatient care, and then starting again with hospitalisation. Classmates who once were called friends, at some point became acquaintances, and then turned to strangers. With each turning of the seasons, it seemed that I was disappearing from their memories.
どうやらいい気がしないらしい。普通に生きている人にとって私の存在ってのは、だから消されたようだった。いくつもの季節を、白い梅雨空を、誰とも言葉を交わす必要もなく過ごした。私の英語の教科書は1年生の中間テスト以降、まっさらな状態だった。そこで私の時間も止まったらしい。
That was a rather poignant start to the game, eh? To the visual novel. So, early summer 2004, protagonist. So this is 8 years later after being admitted into hospital. I'm assuming. Summer, flowing sweat. Okay, it's not how I describe
I know
it.
that feeling well.
Not where I thought that end of that sentence was going to go.
Well, it's what you think of summer, right?
Flowing sweat. In the driver's license examination area, there was a large electronic bulletin board installed. All at once, the lights came on. Like everyone else there, I searched for my own number. 237, 237. Scanning among the mostly lit light panel, I found my own examination number. Train. Because it was just past midday, the train car was quite empty. And in that empty car, I was on the way home from the examination centre. In my left hand was the traffic regulations manual I'd just received. In my shirt pocket was a brand new licence. With this, I'm also normally licensed, eh? I murmured somewhat seriously, but didn't feel any particular strong emotion. It's not like I wanted to drive cars, nor did I really have another purpose in mind. It was just people around me were going to the training centre and they recommended that I at least get a driver's licence. That night, when I reported to my parents that I'd gotten my licence, "Oh, sure," was the short reply. As an experiment, I tried asking to borrow the car, and just as shortly came a "you can't." It wasn't like I had wanted to drive the car, but the responses were exactly as I had imagined. They were these sorts of parents. The next day, upon waking up, my chest hurt, and so I was taken to the hospital. Normally, I had little to do with the sickness. That was why waiting in the initial waiting room felt extremely boring. Finally, just when I thought the examination was over, this time I went to take x-rays and blood tests. Was made to go? That's weird.
I think like discharged, I think is what they mean.
On top of that, for a long time, I was made to wait in boredom.
Oh no, was made to go, as in like was made to go and have the blood tests.
Okay. Without noticing, I've finished reading 3 books of jump manga in the waiting room and was reaching for a 4th. And just like that, I was made to do the paperwork for being admitted into the hospital. The brand new driver's license that still lay in my shirt pocket. It looked like the time for its debut was far off. Autumn 2004, protagonist. Around when those very noisy cicadas had stopped crying. Umaneko. Higurashi.
Higurashi.
Higurashi. As usual, I was in the hospital. Of course, it wasn't like I was always admitted in the hospital. I'd be in and out. Last month, I had my first experience with surgery. I really shouldn't eat while reading this. After being discharged, I commuted 5 minutes for outpatient care by scooter. And even from then on, admitted, discharged, outpatient care, gradually moving to being admitted again. I didn't know anything about PET or IRESSA, but I noticed through the comings and goings that a number of months have passed. In exchange of my decreasing appetite, the types and amounts of drugs increased. Even I could see with my own eyes that my strength was declining. My legs felt a bit thin, but that's not your imagination. The needle on the scale would tell me. And yet, I was looking at myself somehow objectively, as if watching a stranger like looking at a single scene on television. The sudden things that happened to my body, my head couldn't keep up with them. The feeling that was happening was real, didn't arise. And so, even though it was supposed to be my own body, I could only watch myself from afar with cold eyes. Winter. A winter day, around when Christmas trees were disappearing from the streets. Perhaps it was the end of the year, but I was allowed to return home. In the end, it seemed to be only temporary, but even then, I was a bit happy. In a mix of rain and sleet, I returned home for the first time in a while. For some reason, everyone in the family was gathered. Even though my parents normally didn't speak much, while being a bit stiff, they smiled at me. The little sister, who I always argued with, made my favourite cream stew and fried shrimp. We sat next to each other in the kotatsu. They peeled mandarins for me. They were excessively kind. That made an impression. During this time, I had just a bit of a realisation. Still left in the pocket, that brand new licence. That licence, without giving rise to any practical value, might expire. While having stiff, unnatural smiles directed at me, calmly, vaguely, rather simply, I thought of that, as if of thinking of someone else. January.
2005.
So we're into the next year.
Hmm.
The new year passed, and I returned again to the hospital. On that day, for some reason, I didn't go to the 4th floor, but instead to a conference room. Was made to go. There, with my father and a doctor, I heard many things. Was made to listen. It was that thing called notification, I guess. They had an extremely indirect way of speaking, but in the end, it seemed like I was going to die. I see. And so, I was only able to reply with that. I couldn't find other words. From when I entered until I left the room, that was all that I said. Hearing my answer, the doctor quickly wrote with the ballpoint pen in his hand. Most likely it was the paperwork for the hospice. To the very end, he was very businesslike. My father was very much the same. It was such a simple thing. That was my honest impression. And then, between that day and the next, I changed from the 4th to the 7th floor, from a 6-patient room to a single. And also, the 7th floor itself was a bit different from other floors. For one thing, the floors were sparkling. The ceilings were much higher, much more expansive. Inside the rooms, it was extremely clean. The large windows seemed designed to let in lots of sunlight. However, the windows only opened a tiny bit. When I tried measuring, it was just slightly smaller than would allow your head to pass through.
You know them ones. It's like the angled open windows.
Them ones that are supposed to prevent you from jumping out?
Yeah.
Yep.
Basically.
Yeah, I didn't think this was going to be a super positive visual novel. Guess I was right there. Also, the colour of the ID bracelets changed. Since the day I was admitted, a vinyl bracelet was always wrapped around my wrist. Upon it was my name and blood type. That colour had changed from blue to white. High ceilings, white vinyl bracelets, windows that could only open 15 centimetre. The day I was transferred to the 7th floor, it was when the boring New Year's programs were still being broadcast. The time I met her for the first time was also at the very beginning of the year. Narcissu. Oh, that's how you pronounce it. Narcissu.
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 Oh wow! So we're now at winter 2005.
So we spent a whole year on the 7th floor, I take it.
The 7th floor. I find it very interesting that it's the 7th floor.
Why's that?
Oh, well, it's a random fact that I know in my mind, but if you want to jump out a window, like we were just talking about earlier, to die, you should be at least 6 stories up to make it a fatal injury.
Is it?
Yeah.
Why do you know that?
I don't know. It's a fact that I've had in my mind, just sort of floating around for a long time.
That kind of worries me.
Also, do you need to click to go forwards?
Yeah, I was just holding on because I was eating and you were talking. I thought it'd be good. Like a good point to like
just chat.
Yeah, reflect on what
like
we've just seen.
Well, like you said, this game is not super positive.
No, and I kind of like it for it. I mean, I am a miserable git, so this plays into that. Across the hall, facing the nurse's station, was a lounge-like place. Left in that unpopulated place were a number of sofas, folding chairs, and a large television. On that 28-inch CRT, a meaningless New Year's program was running. CRT, man.
28-inch was good, man, in those days.
That's a big CRT for that time. I don't know when this is supposed to be based, but yeah. Watching that boring television with an equally bored expression was some girl. She had a small build and wore pink pajamas. Her wrist had, just like I did, a white bracelet. Hair that went to her hips left an impression. Hey you, is that interesting? There wasn't any particular deep meaning to it. Since there was no one around, I tried speaking to her profile.
別に
That was all that she replied with. She didn't even turn towards me, even though I had spoken to her. Perhaps she had absolutely no interest in me. She continued to gaze at the television with a bored look. If it's boring, you don't have to watch it. As I thought that, I also sat down in a folding chair. And sitting next to her, I gazed at the television. There was nothing else to do, nothing else I could do. In silence, we continued to gaze at the television. On the screen were the usual New Year's programs, pathetic impersonations and parlour tricks. Occasionally ringing out the host's stupidly high-pitched laugh. In the pure white sunlit room, it dryly reverberated.
ねえあなた
Suddenly, the girl spoke to me, while still gazing at the television.
あなた何回目
Which time? Does that mean?
ここに7階に来たの
Sorry, I don't understand the meaning of the question.
そう初めてなんだね
You're first. Interesting.
First time coming here.
It seemed
That's
that...
what I think.
Sorry,
I keep cutting you off.
No, it's fine. I just like... I had the impression that this was the floor for people that were terminally ill. And that, you know, you wouldn't come back. If you know what I mean. Because you...
I mean,
I felt that
complicated.
you come here to spend the rest of your days. So
Perhaps.
yeah, I don't know. It seemed that at my inability to understand what she was saying, she had unilaterally came to that conclusion.
じゃあ他に誰もいないし私の役目だから
Duty.
そういうルールなの
While nodding, she added that there is a rule for someone to teach people who first come here to the 7th floor. Right now, I knew nothing about what any of this was. And as if ignoring me, the girl slowly began speaking.
それじゃあよく聞いてね
Hmm. They were slightly different compared to the doctor's speech that I had heard up until coming here. They were slightly different compared to the doctor's speech that I had heard up until coming here. In that businesslike speech from the doctor, it was said that this was a place to await the advancement of medicine. It was also called a place for healing the heart. Most likely, broadly speaking, that was probably correct. However, from what the girl said, that was a facade. This 7th floor was within the hospital, but was the only place that didn't give treatments. Simply a place to wait for the end of life. That's what the girl said. That's why I also felt I had the same perception.
私2回目だから。
Second time? What's that? And the girl taught me. This place called the 7th floor, to be here from the moment of admission, all the way until dying, first of all apparently didn't happen. Even if being cured was impossible, if your health becomes better, then they would allow you to go home once. But
Is this a translation problem?
yeah, there seems to be some weird translation issues. Grammar seems to be a bit off. But after a while, and your condition worsens, once again you come back. Among those comings and goings, eventually you die. The place where life ran out, it only varied between home and the 7th floor. Unfailingly, one would die in either of those. It seemed no one has ever escaped that. It was with that meaning that the girl had said it was her second time.
じゃあ一度しか言わないから、ここからはよく聞いて。
Still looking at the dull screen, the girl continued speaking even more. The subject wasn't about what time the lights would be out, the normal sorts of topics exchanged between admitted patients. She taught me about totally different things. On the 3rd time you're given a temporary discharge, prepare yourself. There's never a 4th. You won't be going home anymore. If there's a time that you want to run away, go not to Station A, but towards Station B. Don't eat anything. That is the shortest path. It will end with the least burden to your family. It was all full of these sorts of topics that would make one pause. Most likely, it was only the people who came to this place, only among those who moving towards death, these were the things that they continued passing down. Was the duty you mentioned this?
ええ、そうよ。いつかあなたも初めて来た人には伝えてね。
With those final words, the girl slowly stood up. Gently, her long hair swayed and brushed the tip of my nose.
じゃあ検温の時間だから。
And then, just like that, with her back facing me, she began walking towards the hall. I was left alone in that place with the laughing voice from the screen and the white flowers decorating the window. In the end, the girl never once looked in my direction. From then, after a few days has passed, finally the New Year's programs ended. Soon the middle and high school 3rd terms would be starting. Today in the lounge, once again, the figures of the girl and I were staring at the television. It's boring, isn't it?
そうね。
The word came back in reply, but both of us were conversing while continuing to gaze at the screen. Hey, is this place always like this?
質問の意味がわからない。
Ah, I meant how there's no one around. Nurses, doctors, the helpers. If you take them out, then aside from our attendants, I'd never seen anyone else. I guess it's because it's the New Year's?
その理由を知りたいの？
No, it's not like I meant
じゃあ
that.
言わない。
An exchange that wasn't even a conversation. We indifferently passed back and forth. A slight breeze from the windows that couldn't open more than 15 centimetres. Occasionally it would sway the girl's hair, and in the same way would sway the white flowers decorating around the windows. The two of us, while watching the boring television, were only spending days passing time. Oh, the two of you were in a place like this? Saying that while rushing up was an elderliness. From just glancing at the nurse's station once in a while, this person seemed to be the chief of the 7th floor. So, Setsumi-san, you don't have a fever?
大丈夫。出てない。
Setsumi. Apparently this was the girl's name. Can't go roaming about outside anymore, okay? Alright, everyone gets worried.
別にいいよ。
My, what kind of statement is that? Really, girls these days, there's just no helping them. And for a while more, the nurse continued nattering on. To that, she, the girl called Setsumi, let it go by with an indifferent expression. As if ignoring the slightly noisy nurse, she continued watching the boring screen in front of her. Okay, done. Later I'll come to test your blood, okay? With those final words, once again the nurse returned back to the nurse's station. Hey, you. I mean, I can call you Setsumi, right? Wrapped around the girl's wrist was the white vinyl bracelet. While looking at the blood type and name there, I asked, Is something wrong, Setsumi?
どうして呼び捨てなの？
What?
年下のくせに。
What?
Hey, why am I the younger one?
別に。そう思っただけ。
Okay.
I figured she was younger than, but anyway, we'll carry on.
It wasn't
I
that
don't know.
I
I
was-
got the feeling that our guy was an adult.
I think our person's a girl, no? Or is it a guy?
I feel like it's a guy.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if anything definitive has been said.
That's true, actually. Nothing is defined whether it's a guy or a girl. I just assumed because of this, because on the cover art's a girl. But is the girl Setsumi?
No, I thought there was Setsumi, yeah.
Oh, maybe it is. I mean, being cynical, this is a visual novel, probably aimed at guys more than girls. So having the main character as a guy makes sense.
Also, we're not seeing any character portraits.
That's a bit weird. Maybe there isn't any.
Maybe it's just like this the whole time, a very narrow window.
It is very narrow, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
I'm
it's
kind
like-
of reminded there's still the case, actually.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yes, but they also make a very narrow window for the text as well, so you can hardly see anything.
Yeah.
Bloody silver case. Anyway. I love it, but I also hate it. It was just, no matter how you looked at it, one would believe I was 5, 6 years older. That was why I took out that license that was in my chest pocket and showed it to her. How about it? Even though I look like this, I'm 20, you know? Right, if this person's 20, they can't be a girl. Because visual novel logic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's
I'm
bad.
20, you know?
やっぱり年下よ。
What?
Oh, how old is she then?
With just a glance at the license, the girl gave only that reply. Hey, I don't really get
どう
it.
でもいいじゃない。少し上なだけよ。
As always, she spoke softly and with no expression. Those eyes, while always looking at the dull television, also felt like they were looking at us at some place far away. Around when the morning temperature taking ended, I got onto the elevator, trying not to be seen by the nurses. Gonna escape, boys! Coming to the first floor, deliberately passing through the entrance for outpatients, I just kept walking out of the hospital. The destination was a place I was taught before, not the nearby station A, but the far station B. It wasn't like I was planning on running away. The 7th floor, our home, there was no one who died outside of those two. That was what I heard before. It also seemed that girl called Setsune had gone many times to Station B. That was why, for no real reason, I simply felt like wanting to go see that place once. It's not like there are guards around. Even so, us residents on the 7th floor were different from other admitted patients. While also thinking about the just maybe, I continued walking on the street to the early morning station area. Glancing at the hurrying commuters and people going to school, I slowly moved on at a measured pace. After walking about 25 minutes, I finally arrived before the station. In terms of bus stops, it was about 4's distance. There's a fair bit of people around. That was the first impression upon seeing Station B. Because my clothes were pyjamas, I stood out somewhat. However, if just like that I bought a train ticket without a single problem, I felt I could go anywhere. Why was it not Station A, but this Station B that was recommended? I didn't know. However, if one were planning to run away, I thought it was a simple thing. The girl was also supposed to have come many times. But why was it that she still remained at the 7th floor, even now, I wonder? Early morning before the station. While watching the people hurrying by, suddenly that thought occurred to me. That night, after the lights had been turned off, holding onto a book of manga, unable to sleep, I wandered around the ward alone. Normally, wandering around after lights out would get one scolded badly, but us residents of the 7th floor were given a relative amount of freedom. And with the lights off, the usual lounge was pitch dark. There, I saw her figure. Hey, today you're looking outside? In the dark room there was a response, but that face remained looking beyond the window. Immediately I started talking about what happened during the day. That reminds me, this morning I went all the way to the station. Just like you told me, I went to see Station B.
So,
But the girl's response was no different from the usual. Because she was supposed to have gone before, I thought that there might have been some kind of reaction, but thinking about that, as well as how the girls still remained here, did it mean that she really had no intention of running away?
私、もうすぐ帰れるの。
Eh? Suddenly, the girl opened her mouth. Words as if she had seen clear through to my heart just now.
でも、次で3回目だから、もう会えないかもね。
That's right. Most likely, when she said that she would be able to go home, she was talking about a temporary discharge in this place called the 7th floor. To be admitted more than 3 times, it apparently never happened. Especially, unlike the elderly, when considering the rate of progression of disease, it was even more so for younger patients like us. With that kind of meaning came the words, "We won't meet again."
ねえ、あなたはどちらを選ぶの？
Choose what?
どっちで死ぬつもりってこと？
Suddenly hearing the word death, my words caught for just a moment. Dunno, I still haven't thought about it.
そう。まだ1回目だもんね。
The girl spoke in a lonely murmur. Of course, even I knew I couldn't be here forever. Like everyone else, going in and out of the hospital, slowly weakening until someday. In the end, either this 7th floor, or surrounded by thin smiles, it would probably come to a choice between those two.
私は家は嫌。だけど、ここも嫌。
Then, what will you do?
別にどうもしない。自力で歩けるうちに どこかに行くだけ。
Somewhere? You... Even though it was obvious that if one wanted to run away one could, this girl still remained on this 7th floor. When I thought about that, do you have some other place to go to?
あなた、私を引き止めたいの？
Eh?
それとも一緒についてきたいの？
Ah, no, I didn't mean it like that.
じゃあ聞かないで。
Ouch. While gazing out the window, the girl spoke indifferently. As always, it had been a conversation where she did not even look in my direction. However, just that time, her usual expressionless profile seemed sad. Thought that the 3rd temporary discharge would be the last. I've come to this 7th floor for the first time. And then a girl who would soon face her 2nd time. For me, I still couldn't really feel the things that were happiness as reality, but someday, would I also come to make such a face? From before dawn, rain fell, occasionally also changing to either sleet or snow. It lightly continued coming down. Within that, I was in the usual place watching the television. As always, the 7th floor was devoid of people.
面白い？
Nope, boring. The girl came from the other side. Exchanging only those words, she quietly sat in the folding chair next to me. And then, today also, the two of us began gazing at the television. Surely, this girl was also the same. There was nothing else to do, nothing else she could do. Surprisingly, she responded to something on the television. Something the matter?
別に。
The words were the same, not particularly, but it was a response that was different from her usual for her. Becoming interested, I turned my eyes to the screen. What was on the screen was some kind of nature scene. On a beautiful hill, trees and flowers merged into a landscape, and focused on the screen were a great many white flowers. They were flowers I remembered seeing before. They resembled the white flowers even now decorating the room by the windows. Are those the same flowers? Look, aren't they exactly like these? While speaking, I pointed first at the screen and then towards the window.
違う。
Oh, really?
種類は同じだけど、厳密に言えば違う。
Giving the flowers by the window just a glance, she once again returned to gazing at the television while answering. Honestly, even if she denied that they were the same, to me, I didn't know the difference between the two. Besides, for me, whether the flowers were the same or different didn't really matter. Instead of that, the girl normally would never participate in conversation. That girl surprisingly continued speaking. That was why I also tried to maintain the conversation. And I think it's about 43 minutes in. I think I'm going to end the episode there.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and do shorter-esque segments.
Fair enough.
I don't know. Comment on the video whether you think it's better to do shorter ones or should we do 1 hour segments. It's up to you guys. But yeah, I will stop it there, and we will hopefully see you next time. So, and I think we'll have a little chat about this in the next episode, just like a reflection on what's happened so far. But for now, I'm Ashmanix, and
I'm Kuxel.
and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.